This is Benjamin. I'll give it about maybe about 2 minutes, and then I'll start going. So if you're watching this after it's recorded live, you can probably maybe fast forward it 2 minutes, and I should be started then. Just waiting for people to come on, and I'm sharing my link to groups now. So all right. I think this has been about 2 minutes, maybe. So I'll go ahead and just get started. Okay. Excuse me. All right. All right. So it checks captures and threats. This is the first check I noticed. It's actually the only check I think it is, and it's hitting the king, and a king can't move any of these squares obviously because his own pieces are there, and it can't move here because the queen would be here. So that would be checkmate, and it's defended by the knight. So I forget what kind of checkmate this is called with the knight and queen, which is super common. So it's a good pattern to learn, especially early on. All right, this is a back rank checkmate. It's a check. It's covering all these squares, and these squares in front of it the king can't move to because of his own pawns are in the way. So it's a back rank checkmate. In your own games, to prevent this from happening to you, it's usually good to move one of these pawns at some point, but be mindful of creating other weaknesses because the bishop's going to attack diagonal with the queen. So you have to just be smart about which one you move and why. But if you don't move any of them, this can happen. So it's a back rank checkmate. Excuse me. This is a check, and when he captures back, that would be a mate. This is also a back rank checkmate. You can also sacrifice pieces. You can even add like an extra piece if you have to come in for a battery. So you can even actually have, so just go ahead. All right, checks, captures, and threats. So look at checks first. This is the only check I see, and the first one, the capture, and it is also checkmate. It's a check, and the king can't move because his own pawn's in the way, and obviously this square is taken by the queen, like attack-wise. So the king has nowhere to go. That'll be checkmate. And checks, captures, and threats. Right here is a check. It is hitting all these squares. If you haven't noticed, there's something common here. First couple puzzles are a lot of them are back rank mates, and the same thing as last time. if one of these pawns were moved, it would not be checkmate. So keep that in mind. A lot of people early in the games like to either play this move or this move to prevent the knight from coming here. Let's say if the knight develops, and they usually prevent it, that will also help you get an escape square. But it's not really recommended to do all the time, but it is helpful. So, and it's not checkmate immediately because his pieces can move back, so it's checkmate in 3. But it's a useless defense. It's not going to do anything, so it doesn't even matter. All right. Checks, captures, and threats. So, same thing. This is the only check I see immediately. I'm not even worried about what he has because if I can see a forced checkmate, it doesn't matter. If I don't see a forced checkmate, then I pay more attention to his pieces. So this is check. He has to go back, and then check. He can take, and then that'll be checkmate. If it wasn't checkmate, I'd be looking at what he can do, and can he do a perpetual? Can he do checkmate me? And then I try to find a way to solve the puzzle with whatever is going on. But if it's a forced checkmate, then there's no need. And forced checkmates are continuous checks until it's checkmate. In this case, it's check, check, checkmate. So check, check, and checkmate. You'll see puzzles later on where it's not forced, and sometimes I may have to look at things. Like, for example, right now I'm in check. So I obviously can't put him in checkmate. So I got to worry about his pieces and what to do. Now, if I take, it doesn't matter how he captures back. Let's see here. Okay, I don't have a checkmate then. All right. If I take here, he can just take back with his rook. And then this is checkmate. And I look for a check after that. Let's say I take. It doesn't matter which piece he takes it with. It doesn't make a difference. This rook has all these squares covered, all of them. So the king can't move back. This has this covered. And if I move my pawn up, that would be check. So since the king has nowhere to go, he can't move here, he can't move here, he can't move here. Right now, he has nowhere to move. So if I can put him in check without releasing one of those squares, that's checkmate. So if I take this knight, very next move, that would be mate. It is looking at other possibilities. Let's say he goes here. Let's say I capture and he moves his rook here. Now I can't move the pawn up one. But I can maybe take the rook. And if he takes back, that'll be mate. So if I take and he goes here, and I take the rook afterward, maybe he can go here, and I can take, and the king would have an escape square. So I'm not entirely sure. I'm pretty sure I'm looking more into it than I need to. I think it's very simple, but yeah, I figured it was a rated 400 puzzle, so they probably just wanted the first move. But it looked like it could be mate, but it didn't look like it was completely forced. There was a little bit he can do, but he would lose all his pieces. But all right, checks, captures, and threats. This check obviously isn't very good for reasons that it can be captured by the pawn or the bishop. This check over here, however, hits the king. The queen controls this diagonal and is defended by the knight, so the king can't escape. The king can't go anywhere because of it. So that would be checkmate. It's actually, I'm pretty sure you learned about Scholar's checkmate, but to me, this is always very similar, even though it's not the same thing. Scholar's checkmate is with the bishop and queen, and then it'll checkmate. So it's similar but not the same. The knight is over here on this square. You usually can do that checkmate with the knight here or here, usually hitting that square with the queen. I mean, obviously, the square is possible too, but I never really see it very often just because of the bishop, and it's very close to where the pawn start off at. So as common. All right, checks, captures, and threats. Give me 1 second. This is a check. He will move back 1. This would be check. He will take, and this would be checkmate. So it's basically a very similar pattern from the other back ring checkmates. This one just had an extra check in it to push the king back. So checks, captures, and threats. So this is check right here. The king has to move back. He has nowhere to square to go. This would be check. He'll take, and this will be checkmate. All right, checks, captures, and threats. This right here is a check. It doesn't matter where the king actually goes. The king has many squares, but it doesn't really matter, and he can block with the pawn. So he has a lot of options. It's not really that important. I don't have to catch all of them because this bishop here is also attacking the rook. So this is a check and a capture, but it's not checkmate. So it's check. The king does something, and then that right there will be a free piece. And that will also be a winning endgame with the bishop and knight with these pawns. So I'm pretty sure that's it. I wouldn't really look much farther normally in the actual game, so I'm not going to do too much here either. All right. Checks, captures, and threats. This is a check, but it's useless because he can just take it, and there's no actual follow-up. There's another check over here, which hits the king. This check, however, the king can't move to these squares because of the bishop. So because the king has nowhere to move, this check means that the other option is he has to block it. His options to block are bishop here. These 2 squares are here with the bishop, which I can just take. It doesn't matter where he goes. I can take it. And then his block it with the queen, but I can take it as well. So the blocks that he has is not defended or supported. So I can just capture him, and it'll be checkmate in 3. So we check, check, and then checkmate. All right, checks, captures, and threats. So this is the last move here. I can take if it was a check, and if the king takes back, the queen can come out here and call a check. And since the king is on a square, he can't move here obviously because the queen is attacking that square. He can't move over here because the pawn and his own pieces are blocking him from moving in these 2 squares, in the g6 or g7 square, and that'll be checkmate. Oh, I missed that block, but the block wasn't supported anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Checks, captures, and threats. This is a check. The king moves back 1. This is a check. He can take it. And this right here is checkmate. It's a simple back rank checkmate. As I stated earlier, if he would have moved one of these pawns before at some point in the game, this type of mate would not be possible. So check, sacrifice the queen, check, and then that'll be mate. Checks, captures, and threats. This is a check, but it's no good. You can take it. This is also a check. It's no good for the same reason. And the last check is over here. In this check, hits the king, and this rook has this file covered, so the king can't escape. So that'll be checkmate in 1. It's making sure he has no loose defenses. He does not. So checks, captures, and threats. Checks, captures, and threats. This one seems to have a little bit more pieces. So let's go ahead. This is a check, but he can just capture it. But if he captures it, he can't capture the pawn because it's pinned by the queen. Let's say he can't capture the bishop because the discover attack against the queen. I'll take the queen. And if he takes with the rook, I can take his other rook. But then he can take the queen. So I don't think this is it, because if he takes here with his rook, I don't really see a good follow for me because I can't take his rook because he'll just take mine, my queen. So I don't think it's the knight move. But what if I take this first and then he takes back? And then I take off my knight, because then it'll be check and he can't capture and he can't capture, which means he only can move, let's say, take, and since he can't capture, he only can move. And his two squares that he can move to would be here. If he moves to this square, that'll be checkmate. If he moves to this square, what can I do? My knight's here. Not 100% sure, but I'm possibly moving my knight here. Not 100% sure. Let's just go ahead with it. So this is first. That's very important. If I take this first, that won't be it. Okay. And then I guess I get the queen. So apparently he sacrificed the queen because I had a checkmate. I noticed one of them, but I wasn't too sure about the other. If he moved this way instead. But I believe that it was a checkmate because the computer wouldn't sacrifice their queen if that wasn't the case. All right, checks, captures, and threats. So checks, captures, and threats. So checks, I can go here, but the king can just move out the way, and I don't see anything good after that. I don't see like an actual follow. I mean, I can keep trying to check him, but he can just start moving, and then I run out of checks. It can be like check, move, and then I don't have another check, and there's no clear plan of what I'm doing if I just do that. So let's see here. I think the I'm going this way, and the white's going this way with his pawn. So if I move my pawn up one, because I'm getting ready to make a queen, all right. I don't know how white is going to stop that, because if he moves his rook anywheres, it doesn't matter where he moves it to. If he moves it anywheres, I can just take the pawn, and then let me see here. I go up one, he moves his rook out the way. I probably would just make a queen actually, because that would be check, and then I can take the rook and take his pawn. So it looks like this is a really strong move here. And so the answer isn't a check. It isn't a capture. If I just take this, he'll take it back. I'll move up. He'll come up here and defend this right here. So that's not good. So I'm going to move up one. Okay. He has no good checks either. I'll just take them and take it. And then I can make a queen. All right. White to move, checks, captures, and threats. Let's see here. This is a check right here. My king has to move up. The king has to move out the way. This bishop has this diagonal, so I can actually move my rook anywheres. I can even move it here to this square to take his queen for free, because that would be a check. He would have to move, and then when I come back here to this square, this bishop will be discovered attack check, and then after he moves somewhere, so it doesn't matter where he moves, I need these three squares, and then I can win the queen. Now that I know I can win the queen, I don't want to make the move yet. I want to see if I have a checkmate, which I don't think I have one. But if I did have one, I wouldn't want to miss the opportunity of a checkmate because I seen I can take his queen. So let's see here. Let's see I move maybe here or somewhere. He still has this square, and then I don't have a follow-up. So okay, I don't have a follow-up on that, so it is checkmate. And not checkmate, it's winning the queen. I'm sorry. Okay. Checks, captures, and threats. I have a couple of checks, but I'm going to go to the bad ones first. If I go here and call check, he can just take it. If I call check here, he can just take it. If I call check here, he'll have an escape square, and then that would be mate. So that's a possibility, but this right here is checkmate immediately. So even though this right here is checkmate, it's in 2 moves, this checkmate is in 1 move. And when it comes to puzzles, because when it comes to puzzles, if you like go here and call check and move out the way and go mate, it will be the wrong one. And it'll count as a bad, it'll be, even though it's still forced checkmate, it won't count it as correct answer. You have to do the fastest one. And this is check and checkmate because he can't move over here because of the rook. So yeah, puzzles are weird like that. So sometimes you can actually see a good move or have a winning continuation, and it will still be considered wrong in the puzzle if there's a faster one. So checkmate. Oh, I'm looking for my checkmate, and I didn't think about my danger. I feel really stupid explaining that now. So I have to get out of danger first and then checkmate. So my options are here and here. Let's see. Well, if I go down here, he can keep calling check pretty easily. I'm exposing it. So I can calculate this one better. So let's say I go up here to the square. He can't, like, this diagonal can give check, but the queen can't go on that diagonal. This square here exists, but I can just take it with the pawn. So I'd have to move up first. Okay, now he's blocking this. So now this checkmate in 1 no longer exists because he's blocking it. However, we do have that checkmate in 2, which now would be the answer because of the fact that my king was in check. If my king wasn't in check, then it would have been this the answer. Okay. All right. The first thing I notice is this is check, but the king can't escape. So it's not checkmate. However, it's a forcing move. So you obviously just because it's not checkmate doesn't mean I should stop there. I should calculate farther because you can easily calculate forcing moves. So check, he moves over, and then this is also a check, threatening the rook. So that's a free rook. And it only works because it's a forcing move. Like he has to move here. He has nowhere else he can go. And forcing moves are the easiest to calculate. Checks, captures, and threats. Well, if I take here, he can just capture back. Well, first I said my king's in check. My king is not in check. However, this right here would be really bad for me, I would think. I would imagine. Well, not really, because I can take it back with the queen. But then he has to. So, yeah, I got to definitely take care of this because he's threatening my queen. I can't call check here because he's going to take the king. I can call check this way. And if he captures it, I can bring my other rook in for a check. And then if he moves back, that would be mate because my rook and my queen will be controlling all those squares. But now that I see that, and he has other pieces on the board, so now I have to see if any of his pieces can actually defend that mate. So this is check. If he moved back right away, this would be check. He'll move his bishop back, and that'd be mate. So that's one continuation. Another continuation, if I take it, let's say he doesn't capture. Let's say he does capture it, and then I go over here and call it check. He can block it, but it's a loose piece. It's not defended, so I can take it. He can block it. It's a loose piece, but I can take it. It's not defended. He'll move back, and that will be checkmate here. Check. Check. Take. Okay. They didn't do the whole puzzle, but that's okay. They didn't want to show the whole thing. But that was checkmate in a few moves. Checks, captures, and threats. Checks, captures, and threats. I don't see a check, so we can cross that off the list. Captures. There's a capture here, and there's a capture here. Let's say I capture here first. He can capture back with the queen or knight. And then I have this capture right afterward, threatening this knight. I can also capture this way first. And then if he captured back, captures his bishop, I can take this knight, and his bishop and his knight is being threatened. So I will be taking two pieces for one and threatening a third. If I take this way and he captured back, I would be winning one piece. The other one looks more deadly if I do this first. Oh wait, that's I take here. When he captures with check. So I would be forced to take back bishop. Now that I know it's 2 for 1, either way, I have to figure out which one's better and why. I don't see an extra follow-up on that. The reason why I like this one better, this capture, is because when he captures back and I take, I'll be threatening his knight, and on top of threatening his knight, I will be threatening this pawn with my pawn, and it'll be opening things up for the king. So that's why I like this capture better. If I capture this way and he would take back, I would take here, but I have two pawns here, and his pawns are. It'll take some time to open it up. But if I take this now and he takes, and I take this way, I'll be threatening his knight, and after he moves his knight, I can take and destroy his pawn structure sooner. So I'm not 100% sure on what the answer is, but to me, I feel like that's the answer. So hopefully I'm right. Nope, I was wrong. That is no bueno. That's okay though. All right, so let's see here. Checks, captures, and threats. Mm-hmm. I can call it check here. If he takes it, that'll be checkmate because the back rank mate. I can call check here. He can block it this way. And if he does, I still can take his queen for check, him move his rook over, and that will still be mate. So it's mate either way how he tries to defend. All right, checks, captures, and threats. This is a check. This is a check. Now, if I did this check, you can just take it with a bishop, and I don't have a clear follow-up, I don't think. But I have a check here as well. And this check, the king can't move here because the rook, and it can't move up here because the queen has its diagonal. So after this check, the king would have to move back and this square. So it'll be check, moving into this square, and then I can call it check again. And after the king moves, I would be able to take the queen. So that looks like it will be it. All right. Checks, captures, and threats. This is a check, but he would just take it, and I don't have a clear follow-up. My rook is being attacked. I can double up maybe. I have a pen here. Oh, no, I don't have a pin here. I'm sorry. For some reason, that was on dark square, and I'm like, oh yeah, I have a pin here. No, actually, I don't. No, I do not. I have this, so it's not a check. I don't have an actual capture. This is being threatened. So instead of checks and captures, I need, this capture is not going to do anything. I'll just be losing a piece, then I'll be losing another piece right after. But there's a threat. And if I move here, the threat is the next move will be checkmate. So I'll move here, and I don't really see a way for him to defend. I mean, he can move his knight up, and I can take, and then he can block, and then they'll mate. So that'll be the answer. All right, checks, captures, and threats. Checks, captures, and threats. This is a check, but if he takes, I can take back. And I'm not really clear on that. Let me see if there's anything more clear, more forceful first. I can move my rook here. He can call it check. I can move up. He doesn't have the perpetual because my queen is right here. So I feel like this is the answer. He can't really block it because of my queen will take it. So I think it's not a check, it's not a capture. I think it's a threat. I think this is it. Yeah. That'll be mate soon after. Checks, captures, and threats. So let's look first for checks. This is a check, this is a check, and this is a check. I'm sorry. And this. Obviously, if I take up my queen, he can take the rook, and then I'm just in a pretty bad spot. Then I have these two checks right here. If I were to call it this way, he would just move the pawn up one, and now both pieces are being threatened. I don't see anything clear with that. This is a check as well. If he were to take off the rook, I can call it check. And if he moved back, I would move my queen to this square, and that would be mate, I would think, right? Yeah, because he can't go here because of knight. Now, does he have an other option instead of taking off his rook? And the answer is yes. That we check. He has these two squares here that he can move to. So not to calculate that, if you were to go here, I have this check as well. And this bishop here is blocking the rook from getting involved. And he can move his pawn up, but I can just take it with the queen. So check. He also has this queen move here as well, but it's the same problem because it's the diagonal, and this bishop here has these spots, and this knight here has this spot here. So looks like this is the answer. All that for a 1400 puzzle. Mm-hmm. So if you haven't noticed that it gets more and more and more complicated. Obviously, the rating goes higher each puzzle. So checks, captures, and threats. The first check that I noticed was this one right here. If I call it check this way, he can't move. Right now, the queen has these squares covered. So the king only has this square. So if I were to call it check here, he would just, this is the only square he has available to him. And after that, let's see here. I can call check. And he can move down. Then I can call check here. I think that would be checkmate. I think it's check. Move down. Check. These are all covered, so he can't move back. He can't go here. So he has to move. This is the only square he has. And after he goes there, the queen right here, check. He can't go down here because obviously it's covered by the queen. He can't go here because covered by the pawn. He can't go here because covered by the knight. So yeah, I think that's checkmate. Okay. Checks, captures, and threats. Let's see here. I don't see any checks right away. Captures. Well, I see a fork right here attacking the. Yeah, I don't have an actual capture immediate, but I have a threat. This would be attacking the queen and the rook. If he were to move the queen anywheres, that would be a free rook. So that's good. So now what can he do about it? I mean, he can maybe take my knight, and then if I take the queen, he can take my queen, I take the rook. He can also take the knight, and well, I can't take the rook that way because he would just take the bishop, and I would lose the exchange. So I would be winning the exchange here if he were to, let's say, take the knight, I take the queen, him take my queen. So it might be the answer. That would be winning, but I want to make sure there's nothing better than that. All right, we are already up a piece. We are up a bishop already. So doing this would mean we'd be up a whole rook instead of a bishop. So, okay, I'm good with that. That's the answer. Checks, captures, and threats. If I were to take this and the king were to take it and I were to take this piece here, the king might try to come in front of the pawn, but I can block it. And then when he comes back, I can start moving the pawn forward, and the pawn would be defended by my king. He can come up, and then it's a runaway pawn after that. All right. Checks, captures, and threats. This queen here looks like it's gonna maybe cause a problem because I can call it check, and then if he moved over here, I can't call it check again because the queen would just take it, and then if I take it and he takes it, it would be a difficult endgame. So that's not the answer. There is this nice fork right here as well, like the last game. Do I call it check first, then the fork? Does it matter? I mean, it might matter. So I gotta think about it to make sure. Okay, so if I go here, the queen can't really call it check in any which way I can see. Oh, I get it now. If I move this and the queen moves out the way somewhere, does it matter? I call check. He moves over. I call it check. He moves back over, and that would be mate. So the bishop would be, and then if I call, yeah, and if I call check this way, he moves this way. I don't see a mate that way. But I'll win the rook. I think this is the answer. Okay. I wasn't 100% sure if it was that or to check first, and I couldn't tell the difference. So, all right. Next one. This is the check. He would have to move over one. This way. This would be a check. He would be forced to move over again. I believe that would be mate. Because he can't here or here. This is all taken care of. So, yeah, I think that would be mate. Let's check, and a mate. All right, checks, captures, and threats. I have this check here. If he were to move over, I can call it check. He can take it, call it check with the queen this way. If he move up to defend it, the queen will capture and that'd be mate. If I were to take it and he were to take back, this would be check. He'll move over and that'll be mate. So it's mate either way. And then this is first. Okay. And checks, captures, and threats. This right here is a check, and the king has nowhere else to go to be a mate as well. Yeah, he can't go anywhere because the queen has all these squares covered, and it's defended, and he has no piece to capture it. So that'll be mate. Checks, captures, and threats. I have this right here, but it's not going to do anything because he can just take it. If I take his rook first, and the queen comes back here, I don't see an actual follow-up. Checks, captures, and threats. Check. Check. He'd have to move back somewhere. But I don't see a follow-up after that. I really don't. Let's say he goes here. I don't see a follow-up. What if I call check here and the queen takes it? And that'll be a check. He'll move out the way somewhere, and then I take the queen, and I'll be up a rook. So check. Let's say he moves out the way instead. Then I take the queen. Same thing. So yeah, it's I get a free this way. All right, checks, captures, and threats. I go here. Well, there's no check that's gonna be usable. This is right here. He'll just take it. I don't see any immediate captures that I can do. He has a checkmate threat against my, so I can't move my queen out of this area. But I do have this move right here, and what I'm threatening is checkmate in one. So that looks like to be the answer. Most likely, he'll just sacrifice his queen, and I take it, and his bishop, and I take it. But then he has this move right here. So it doesn't look at the answer. So if I go up here, you just call it check. I'll take it. I'm sorry. If I go here, he'll call it check. I'll have to come back to take it. He'll take it with the bishop. I'll take it with my king. And then he'll call it check. I'm winning my rook. So this does not look like the answer. It looked like a pretty good idea because of the checkmate threat on the square, where the bishop has this whole diagonal and then the queen moves right here. But it doesn't work because he'll be winning my rook for the bishop and pawn. Well, I mean, he won't work and pawn for a bishop, so that's not good. So that's not the answer. So what do I do about that? I don't want to move here, but I think that's to me it looks like the only it blocks the attack. This rook right here attacks the queen. Queen can't go here, can't go here, can't go here. So this right here blocks the queen off, and then maybe I can bring this in. But this also blocks the queen as well, but it's not as forceful. So I might not get this one right. Let's see here. Let's see. I don't think I'm gonna get this one right, to be honest. Yeah, like I said, there's issues with this move, and I have this move here or this move, and I'm thinking this is it. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead with my gut on this. Okay, that was not it. All right, 33. That's not super bad. You can go over it whenever you want. I try to explain the best way to go about the puzzle thing. And if you haven't noticed, I try to look for alternatives. And that's how you should play your games. Like people say you don't do puzzles like games, but in truth, games don't have it's not as easy because there's not always a winning move. A lot of times you're even, but if you notice something, you always look for something else. Otherwise, so hopefully you got to see that with the puzzles. Um, Hope you enjoyed and learned a little bit about how to do puzzles a bit better. And yeah, I got to get going. So like, subscribe, all right, and you can share. All right, peace, peace.